The day they fired me for being loyal to myself. I consider this disloyal, Marina said, her voice like ice as she stared at me from behind her imposing mahogany desk. After everything Cascade Meridian has done for you. I sat across from her, clutching my purse to stop my hands from shaking. The shock of being called into her office at 9:08 a.m. on a Tuesday had worn off, replaced by a heavy knot in my stomach as I realized what was happening. Marina, don't bother denying it. She tapped a perfectly manicured nail on a printed email. I have confirmation you interviewed with Helix North last Thursday. You took a half day for a dental appointment, I believe. My name is Sienna Brooks. I'm 32 and have dedicated 6 years of my professional life to Cascade Meridian here in Denver, Colorado. In those 6 years, I tripled my client portfolio, brought in millions in revenue, and earned the respect of every major account on our roster. But apparently, none of that mattered now. Security will meet you at your desk, Marina continued, sliding my company ID across her desk as if it might contaminate her. You can collect your personal belongings. Building access is revoked immediately. Her tone was clinical, practiced. I've already disabled your email. The injustice of it burned in my chest. For 3 consecutive years, I'd come to this same office with meticulously prepared presentations, achievements, market rate comparisons, requests for a well-deserved raise. For 3 years, I'd been told it was a tough budget year. While Marina announced record profits at quarterly meetings, I took a deep breath and stood up, straightening my blazer. I understand. For a heartbeat, something like disappointment flickered across her face. Perhaps she'd expected tears or pleading. Instead, I extended my hand. I wish you and Cascade Meridian continued success. She hesitated, before briefly shaking it. When I turned, I saw my reflection in the glass door. Calm, composed, not broken. The security guard hovered awkwardly by my desk while I packed family photos and 6 years of desk plans into a cardboard box. Colleagues shot concerned glances my way, but I smiled to reassure them. No drama, no scenes, just dignity. Walking out through the glass doors for the last time, the April sunshine warm on my face, I realized something important. Marina thought she was punishing me. She couldn't have been more wrong. As I placed the box in my trunk, my phone buzzed with a message from Elias Hart, CEO of Helix North. Can we move our final discussion to today, 2 p.m.? I smiled. Marina had no idea what was coming. It's funny how 6 years of your life can fit into a single cardboard box. As I drove home, the box secure in the trunk, I replayed everything that had led to that morning. I joined Cascade Meridian fresh out of graduate school, determined and eager. Despite my marketing degree, I started entry-level coffee runs, calendars, notes no one read, but I volunteered for difficult projects no one wanted. I built relationships with clients others had written off as impossible. Within 2 years, I was handling mid-tier accounts. By year 4, I'd been entrusted with Helix North, our largest client, worth nearly 30% of the agency's annual revenue. The turning point had been a crisis, a product recall that should have torpedoed Helix's quarter. Their previous account lead disappeared into personal leave the night it broke. I stepped in. We built a transparent crisis microsite in 18 hours, set up live QAs with the engineering team, and negotiated with 2 skeptical journalists who later admitted they'd expected evasions and got candor. Elias looked at me when it was over and said, "You're one of the few people who hears the question behind the question." After that, he insisted I stay on the account. My first raise request came after that success. I arrived with dashboards and revenue numbers that spoke for themselves. "It's just not in the budget this year," Marina said, with a rehearsed look of regret. "But your contribution is noted." I accepted it then. The economy was uncertain. I was still proving myself. The following year, after bringing in 3 major clients and winning a campaign award, I heard the same answer. "Next year will be better. We just need to tighten our belts a little longer." Meanwhile, Marina arrived in a new SUV and our company leased an additional floor for expansion. 6 months ago, right after I negotiated a 40% increase in Helix North's annual contract. I asked again. Your performance is exceptional, Marina said, but we're investing in infrastructure this year. Perhaps we can revisit in the summer. Something in me snapped. That night, I updated my resume for the first time in 6 years. Not out of revenge, out of self-respect. I was worth more than perpetual promises. I didn't expect Marina to discover my job search before I was ready to give notice. But she had her ways. At home, I set the box on the kitchen counter and stared at it. The reality hit. I wasn't just between meetings. I was unemployed. The word felt heavy and hollow at the same time. Then my phone rang. Nina. I just heard, she said. Marco texted me. Are you okay? Nina was my best friend. Marco, her boyfriend, worked in IT at Cascade. News moved faster than email. I'm processing, I said, sinking onto a stool. It happened so fast. It's unfair, Nina said, outrage sharpening her voice. Everyone knows Helix stayed because of you. Everyone. Marina's threatened. She has always been threatened. There was truth there. Marina had once been the agency's star account executive. Some part of her never left the stage. More than once, she'd inserted herself into my Helix meetings with a tight smile and a list of talking points she hadn't read. The worst part is the way she did it, I said. As if interviewing is treason after 3 years of denied raises. It is their loss, Nina replied. And maybe a blessing. You've been undervalued forever. My phone beeped. Elias' heart. I told Nina I had to take it. Sienna, Elias said, skipping pleasantries. I heard what happened at Cascade. Are you available to come in today? I'd like to accelerate our conversation. Yes, I said, heart racing. 2 p.m. works. Excellent. And Sienna, don't let this morning define anything. Sometimes, the thing that feels like a cliff is the start of a bridge. By the time I hung up, the woman in my reflection didn't look defeated. She looked liberated. I showered and put on the navy suit I saved for new business pitches. As I applied mascara, a calm settled over me. Marina thought firing me would humiliate me. Maybe she'd just given me permission to stop waiting for permission. Helix North's offices crowned the top 3 floors of a glass tower downtown. The elevator opened to a lobby flooded with light. Unlike Cascade's beige and beige aesthetic, Helix felt like a place that had already met the future and held the door open. Elias met me in reception. In his early 50s, salt and pepper hair, eyes that laughed even when he didn't. Thank you for coming on short notice, he said, shaking my hand. It's been a morning. We walked past work tables covered in prototypes and sketches. His corner office could have been ostentatious. Instead, it was inviting books, a whiteboard dotted with honest questions. He poured coffee and got to the point. Marina called me this morning, he said. She informed me you would no longer be handling Helix and that she would personally oversee our business until a replacement is assigned. Of course she did, I said, keeping my face neutral. What she doesn't know, he continued, is that our board has had concerns with Cascade. Delays, quality issues from anyone except you. A sense we're being taken for granted. 3 months ago, they asked me to explore other partners. I resisted because of our relationship with you. My breath caught. Are you saying... When you reached out, it felt like alignment, not poaching, he said. We were prepared to wait for you to give proper notice. Marina's decision simply accelerated the clock. He slid a folder across the desk. This isn't an interview. It's an offer. Director of Client Strategy. You'd build and lead a team to manage all our external marketing partnerships and agencies. The number on the page stunned me. It was nearly double my Cascade salary. I swallowed. This is very generous. It's market, he said gently. Sometimes you have to leave a room to see how small it was. That evening, the offer letter sat on my kitchen table, signed and waiting. I'd asked for the night to review, but we both knew my answer. My phone buzzed constantly. Former colleagues, half rumors, half sympathy. I answered a few. I avoided gossip. Then an unknown number. Miss Brooks, this is Ruth Albright. I'm on the board at Cascade Meridian. My stomach tightened. Board members didn't call former employees. Hello? I understand there was an incident today regarding your employment, she said. I'd like to meet tomorrow at 9 if you're available. Of course. Thank you. I'll see you then. After I hung up, another text popped up from Nina. Margot says Marina's been locked in her office all afternoon. She called IT asking who you've been emailing. He said he couldn't legally provide that. She asked if your calendar could accidentally surface to her inbox. Sienna, they're phishing. I stared at the message, then at the cardboard box. Perhaps Marina's certainty about my Thursday dental appointment wasn't a guess. Perhaps it was a habit. I thought about all the times her intuition had arrived 10 minutes after I sent an internal email. The thriller element of the day sharpened. What else did she think she owned? The next morning, I walked into Cascade Meridian as a visitor. The receptionist just blinked when she saw me. Sienna, she whispered, everyone knows how wrong this was. I thanked her and rode the elevator up, feeling oddly steady. Ruth was waiting in a glass-walled conference room. Silver hair, simple suit, the calm of someone who'd made decisions that mattered. Miss Brooks, thank you for coming. We shook hands and sat. She opened a slim folder. 6 years of excellent performance reviews, consistent growth, 3 formal requests for salary adjustment. Denied. She looked up. I was not aware of this pattern. I assumed compensation decisions were reviewed at the board level, I said carefully. Major changes, yes, she replied. Management has discretion within parameters. Her tone was neutral, but it carried disapproval. I've also reviewed your separation. There is no policy prohibiting interviews with other organizations. Yet the word disloyal appears in the email from Ms. Stone. I kept my voice even. That was the word she used. Ruth closed the folder. I will be direct. The board would like to offer reinstatement with the adjusted compensation you requested, plus a 10% increase and the title of Senior Account Director. It was a better offer than anything Marina had tolerated. It was also 3 years too late, and one humiliating march to the elevator past too many coworkers. I appreciate the offer, I said, but I've accepted another position. At Helix North, she said, not a question. When I didn't confirm, she nodded anyway. Miss Stone is concerned Helix may reconsider their relationship with Cascade given your departure. And there it was. Less concern about how I was treated, more concern about losing 30% of revenue. That would be a question for Helix, I said. Ruth studied me for a moment. One last thing. What could Cascade have done differently to retain you? Tipos recognized my value before I had to find it elsewhere, I said. Loyalty is reciprocal. Cascade asked for unwavering commitment while demonstrating repeatedly that I wasn't worth investing in. That imbalance isn't sustainable. Ruth nodded, as if she'd expected that answer and dreaded it anyway. Thank you for your candor. She stood and offered her hand. Whatever comes next, I wish you success. When the elevator doors closed, I exhaled. It wasn't about going back. It was about closing a chapter without letting someone else write the last sentence. Monday at Helix felt like stepping into a room where the air was thinner because people were climbing higher. Elias introduced me to my Team 5 sharp minds with complementary angles. I sketched our first 90 days on a whiteboard, map every vendor, assess performance, define standards, build a rotation program so no relationship hinged on one person. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd gone from managing a single account to designing the ecosystem around all of them, including, for the moment, Cascade Meridian. By Wednesday, Helix's executives convened to discuss agency renewals. Atlas Pine and Laurel Street had pitched hard. Cascade submitted a deck full of glossy adjectives and a case study that used my work. I made a point of recusing myself from Helix's evaluation of Cascade. I provided only historical facts when asked and left the room during deliberations. At 11 a.m., The email went out professional, concise, inevitable. After careful consideration of our marketing needs moving forward, Helix North has decided to transition our primary agency relationship to Atlas Pine, effective immediately. This decision reflects our evolving strategy. Sienna Brooks, our Director of Client Strategy, will oversee the transition. We appreciate our partnership with Cascade Meridian and request all materials be transferred by end of business Friday. I didn't craft the message. I didn't need to. The truth had its own timing. I imagined Marina reading it, the stages of understanding rearranging her face. She hadn't just lost me. She had lost Helix. At 11:07 a.m., my phone lit with an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, an email arrived from Marina's personal account. Cease and desist. Your actions constitute tortious interference. Non-compete. We will pursue all remedies. I forwarded it to Helix's legal team with a single sentence. Please advise. I've recused on all Cascade matters. The reply came swiftly. You have no non-compete. Also, truth is an absolute defense. We'll handle it. That afternoon, Jessa sent me a connection request on LinkedIn with a quiet message. The office is chaos. 3 account managers updated their resumes this morning. Karma has a schedule. I didn't gloat. I didn't reply with anything clever. Thank you for your kindness, Jessa. Wishing you the best. Sometimes restraint is the only flex you need. The thriller thread tugged again 2 days later, when Nina texted, Weird thing. Marco found an auto-forward rule on Marina's mailbox from months ago, pushing calendar invites tagged medical from all team leads to a private folder. He reported it to compliance this morning. He said it could violate the employee privacy policy. Might be nothing. Might explain how she knew. I felt equal parts vindicated and unsettled. It didn't change my path. It clarified hers. A week later, Ruth emailed to say the board had appointed an interim COO. No details. None required. Transitioning Helix away from Cascade could have been vindictive. I made sure it wasn't. We created a clean handoff. Asset inventory, knowledge transfer calls, documented lessons learned. I appeared on 2 calls at Marina's request, briefly, to verify timelines. I stuck to facts and kept my camera on. It's hard to project malice when you're transparent. Elias stopped by my office after the final transfer. You okay? He asked. I am, I said, surprised to hear I meant it. It's strange. The best revenge isn't revenge. It's running out of reasons to think about it. He smiled. Add that to the whiteboard. The months that followed were full. Vendor audits, new campaigns, a launch that crashed our site because success sometimes looks like failure in the first 5 minutes. I mentored a junior strategist who reminded me of me. I set a policy that any raise conversations had to be backed by data and answered within 30 days, yes, no, or plan, because silence is the cruelest HR strategy. We built a culture where advancement wasn't hidden behind the charisma of whoever shouted loudest. One evening, about 6 months after the firing, I ran into Jessa at a coffee shop. She looked relieved to see me. Marina laughed. She said, lowering her voice, HR called it a mutual separation. People are breathing again. I nodded, not triumphant, not surprised. How are you doing? She smiled. I start at Laurel Street next week. They said you spoke well of me when they called. I told them the truth, I said. You're unflappable under pressure. On the walk home, Denver's air tasted like something clean. I thought of the box I'd carried to my car 6 months earlier and how small it made my life look, compressed into corners and succulents. I thought of Marina's word disloyal and how easy it is to use moral language to label someone else's courage as betrayal. Loyalty, I've learned, is a circle you draw that should include yourself. A year after the day I was escorted out, Helix hosted a summit for partners in a lodge up in the mountains. There was a moment after dinner when the sun sank and the room went gold. Elias raised a glass to the team. To the bridges that were really cliffs, he said, and to the people brave enough to walk anyway. I felt my phone buzz. An email alert. I almost ignored it, then glanced down. Subject, thank you. From Ruth Albright, Sienna. Just a brief note. We've implemented 2 of the policies you mentioned in your exit conversation. Transparent compensation bands and a review cadence we can be proud of. We should have listened sooner. Thank you for your professionalism then and throughout. I stared at the words until they blurred. It wasn't an apology in neon lights. It didn't need to be. Knowing I'd shut a door without slamming it and still made a draft through the building felt right. Later that night, looking across a room of people I respected, I tried to picture an alternate timeline where I'd swallowed one more, maybe next quarter, one more tight budget, one more justification dressed as kindness. The image wouldn't hold. The future only wanted to be seen from here. If you'd asked me a year earlier what success would look like, I might have described a number or a title or a car key that opened something expensive. Now, if you ask me, I'll tell you this. Success is walking out of a place that refuses to see you into a place that reflects you back with clarity. It's knowing you didn't have to scorch the earth to grow something new. It's realizing that the loudest word in that office wasn't disloyal. It was enough. The day they fired me for being loyal to myself, I thought I was losing a career. I was just losing a habit, mistaking patience for worth. What I gained, what I protected, was the part of me that will never again ask for permission to be valued. And that, in the end, is the only loyalty that lasts. This isn't a story about revenge. It's a story about self-worth. When a company demands loyalty but won't value your work, the bravest choice is to be loyal to yourself. Calm, data, and professionalism beat drama every time. Walk out with dignity and the right doors open. You don't have to burn bridges. The truth will do the work. Your relationships, your reputation, and your results are your real leverage. Set deadlines. Ask for what you're worth, and if the answer is silence, move on. Success is not staying where you're tolerated. It's choosing where you're respected. Success